this is Jessie Maguire, and I'm at Ruth Allen's house here, and I just want to ask her some questions because she's got lots to share with everybody. And Ruth is a personal therapist, healthy living consultant, relationship therapist and spiritual counsellor. She's been into living foods for around 15 years, and she came to it through honing her diet, but also through yoga and an intuitive process. So Ruth, hi. So how did you get to working with clients in this way?
Well, initially I took a yoga class with Sue Riley, and she went off on holiday and said, take my yoga class. And I thought, me? And that really opened the portal for me, and I'm really grateful for her that somehow she created that space for me to step into sharing my gift. And from there I went on and took further training, and I realised that there was nothing else I wanted to do. But within my training I started to realise that yoga was far more than just the physical, and it's far more of a holistic process, and it's really a life science. And my perception is that I've been exploring that in different modalities since that time. And that's how it started, really. I didn't make a choice. I didn't sort of sit there and think, oh, I'm going to do this or that and the other. It was just a holistic process of my own life unfolding. And in the unfolding, as it was filling, there was nothing else for me to do other than to share that. It's like a cloud pregnant with rain. What does it do? It has to shower. And in the showering, it opens people's hearts and makes things grow.
So what kind of problems and issues do people come to you with? You were talking about the girl with bulimia that came to you.
Yes, I had many, many different issues. I feel, in a sense, we all have problems that we encounter through life, whether it be nutritional issues, addiction issues, behavioural issues. And ultimately, as I start to work with somebody, I start to realise that it is a holistic therapy. It's a whole life science. And yes, working with someone with bulimia, first of all, they may come with, I have a problem, I have bulimia. But ultimately, I think if we can create the space, hold that person in trust, full acceptance, and the sort of love frequency, we are going to find a process of healing. And it's going to be unique to every single being. Every single person is going to have a unique experience, and I can honestly say there are never two sessions that are the same. And also, the other thing that I find ongoingly humbling and exciting is that my mind will often plan a session, but as soon as I'm sitting there with that person, my agenda will go out the window, because there's something deep inside them that will talk to me and guide me as to how that session, how that time together is going to unfold. And I will always, always listen to the unspoken messages I'm receiving, rather than trying to fit somebody into a stereotype pattern response, because we're all unique beings.
Brilliant.
I would say my passion is interacting one-to-one with somebody, or with a couple, to take them through the process of the realisation that ultimately relationship is our greatest spiritual practice. It really is. I mean, for most of us, we're householders. We're not up in the Himalayan caves somewhere. And as householders, the equivalent of our spiritual direction comes through our relationship and our families. And very often the dynamic that we experience as wanting to blame the other and or shame ourselves, it's the same format, is a protective mechanism. And if we can move through that, we can come into the essence of the sacredness and the prayer of what relationship with another human being is and has the potential of. And for me, I think relationship is an intimacy of communion that can evoke as much spiritual growth as seclusion or sitting up in the mountains somewhere. Sometimes more attractive to go and sit up in the mountains or by the sea. But in truth, I think relationship is the greatest arena of growth that we encounter as householders. Not necessarily romantic relationship or marital relationship, although they can be the same, but even sort of family relationship at any level, that those people that we're closest to have the greatest ability to expose our woundology, as I call it, and we can either run from that and create a blame, a shame situation, or we can actually open and explore the process and journey with someone together. And then that's where I think your relationship becomes a sadhana, which is a spiritual practice.
Okay. So could you take us through a typical session or a session, and what tools might you use, and methods might you use with clients?
So there isn't a typical session, although I'd like to be able to say there was. Initially, what will happen is I'll come together with somebody. Very often I've met them or known them previously in some other situation, or they've always usually come by word of mouth. So there's a sense of connection. It's not very often that I end up working with somebody just sort of straight off the street, so to speak, although that's fine too. But it's much nicer often to have a word of mouth connection, because then people have a sense of where they're coming to. So initially I'll tend to start with silence, and during that silence I'll encourage the person to close their eyes and just get in touch with how they're feeling in that moment, because my experience, both for myself and other people, is that they will tend to come with an anticipatory tension or an expectation, and even with a list of, this is what I want to ask. And I'd far rather get all that out of the way and really be in tune with what's really happening inside that person. So somebody could come with a problem like, I'm overweight, for instance, and I really want some guidance with food, and I'm no nutritionist, but my feel is if we really get in touch with what is actually evoking the need or desire for that person to eat, or eat the foods that are least appropriate for their body, then we begin to deal with the issue at its core. And over a period of time, without any undue pressurizing structure, people will come round to, hey, I love myself enough, I love the body in which I live enough, in a way that I want to give my body and my life and my mental and emotional well-being the best ever expression. So it does vary from client to client. After that time of silence, then I'll then encourage the person to share their story, and we all have a story, and I will listen. And although I'm listening to the words, I will also be listening to the unspoken messages that I'm receiving. It's those unspoken messages that I will begin to plug into something inside of me, whereby I am guided into how to be with that person through that session.